Go ahead, Len.
Happy Halloween. The horse-driven coach was old yet elegant. Oil-burning lamps were mounted on either side of the single driver driving a team of jet black horses. The seats and doors around me were lined in red satin. I was alone in the coach and pulled my heavy coat close to me against the bitter cold. The driver was all dressed in black, with a long coachman's coat with a high collar and a black top hat on his head. The coach careened back and forth over a hard, packed dirt road. The moon was full, but shone through only occasionally due to the dark clouds that slid through the sky. Finally, the coach stopped. The coachman leapt down and opened my door, keeping his back toward my face. As I got down from the coach, I grabbed his shoulders and pulled him completely around to face me. So, want to know what happens next? Horror stories grab us by the throat, or maybe the ankles if we're getting out of bed at night, and pull us in, even where we might not want to go. Scary stories make us open the closed door, walk down the stairs into the unlit basement, check out the abandoned car by the side of the road because we need to know what's there. What happens next? That's part of the allure of Halloween, looking where we don't usually peek to find out what happens next. So what happens next in this sermon? Well, first, we'll imagine ourselves on a dark night over 2,000 years ago to find out how Halloween began. What happened before? Then we'll return to the present, dress up and find out what's happening now. And finally, we'll climb back in that coach pulled by the 4 black horses. That's where we'll meet our shadow selves and ask the ultimate question about our lives: what happens next? Let's start by entering the world of our collective imagination. We are leaving this world now. It is the same date as today, October 31st, but we are back 2,000 years ago. We are a clan of Celts in Ireland. It is night. We are standing around a huge sacred bonfire. Some of us are wearing the costumes of animal heads and skins. It is cold. We know the winter is coming. One of the leaders walks nearer the center of the circle, nearer the fire, and he speaks. We give thanks for the harvesting of our crops, for the trees of summer who now shed their leaves and sleep for the winter. Today we mark the end of warm summer and begin the cold winter. We all know this is true. We have felt the nights get colder and have seen the plants wither and die. We pull our animal skins closer around us. We fear the winter and its bitter cold. The leader continues. Tomorrow, we celebrate the beginning of the new year. Tonight, we celebrate Samhain. The shaman enters the circle, the elder who knows about spirits and magic. Another man wearing the costume of a bear's head and bear's skin bangs a drum. The shaman speaks. Tonight, like the seasons, the world of the living and the dead are blurred. Be careful. Stay in groups. Hold on to your torches. Tonight, the ghosts of the dead return to the earth. Light your torches from our communal bonfire and use that torch to light your hearth at home. It will protect you there as we are protected here together. We light our torches from the bonfire and hurry back to our huts. We quickly light the hearths at our homes and stay close to the fire all night long. So that is how many historians speculate Halloween began. But we have little written history, so much is hypothesis. However, according to the BBC, it is widely accepted that early church missionaries chose to hold the festival during Samhain to absorb native pagan practices into Christianity. Eventually, that Celtic celebration became the Christian celebration of All Saints' Day, also known as All Hallows' Day. Hallow is another word for holy, and the day was a time to honor the saints and martyrs. On the night before, the church held a vigil on All Hallows' Eve, as the worshipers would prepare themselves with prayers prior to the feast day itself. All Hallows' Eve was eventually shortened into Halloween, the holiday we celebrate today. One last bit of history. After World War II, a young soldier returned home to Stratford, Connecticut from the Pacific, falls in love and marries. In 1947, on a rainy Halloween night, in a tower in St. Vincent's Hospital in Bridgeport, Connecticut, the young woman gives birth to a son. They name him Leonard after his grandfather. The little boy always loves his Halloween birthday because everyone remembers it and he gets extra candy when he goes trick-or-treating. To this day, even though his children are grown, he decorates the inside and outside of his house and plays scary music out the window for the trick-or-treaters of the neighborhood. And on a Sunday morning, 74 years later, he gives a sermon to you about his favorite holiday. Well, we now know what happened then. Let's return to the present and find out what happens now. Now, Halloween has become a month-long celebration. Halloween is the country's second largest commercial holiday. We Americans will spend an estimated $10 billion on Halloween this year. Halloween is the second biggest decorating holiday of the year after Christmas. 55% of responders ranked Halloween as one of their top two favorite holidays. Christmas was first with 94%, but Thanksgiving a distant third at 18%. Some 54% of Americans aged 18 to 24 plan to wear a costume, and about 82% of Americans over 55 years old plan to hand out candy, with the average candy purchase about $30. Helen and I just spent $38. When our daughter Olivia was in college in St. Louis, she took us to Eckert's Farm Festival. For an $8 admission, you could bet on pig races, get lost in a corn maze, pick apples, and see pumpkins shot out of a cannon, the jack-o'-lantern. The place was packed. Right here in Indy, you can go to Waterman's Farm Festival, feed animals, ride a kiddie train, listen to bluegrass music, and my favorite, watch a pumpkin-eating dinosaur. And here he is. Sorry, I started. Now, is that great or what? Halloween is just fun. There are no presents to buy, no turkey to cook, no family drama. It's time for cider and pumpkin pie and candy. A big stash of candy if you're a kid, and some snuck from the candy bowl if you're an adult. And you're encouraged to dress up, to fantasize. On an even deeper level, it's a time to let out different parts of our personality or try on different roles. Last Thursday, I had an appointment with my dentist. For 20 years, he's been mild-mannered, soft-spoken, and explains everything in gentle tones and always professional. 3 days ago, he walked into the treatment room with big, oversized geek glasses on, and he had a huge hypodermic needle stuck through his head. You can't make this stuff up. I've never seen him so happy. Any other time of the year, he'd be looked at as crazy or weird, but during the Halloween season, it's cool and clever. Halloween is the first big holiday after a long drought of holidays since the 4th of July, and it's unique, dark and scary, wild and woolly, not sticky sweet like Christmas with its sheep bleating and cattle lowing, or Easter with cute little bunnies and lambs. Halloween has bats and ghosts, skeletons and ghouls, monsters and vampires. Halloween you can sink your teeth into. And that leads us to our third point. What happens next? Let's return to the horse-driven coach. The driver, all dressed in black, stopped the coach, leapt down and opened my door, keeping his back to my face. As I got down from the coach, I grabbed his shoulders and pulled him completely around to face me. His face was a skull. He was death. I screamed again and again, and finally felt Helen, my wife, shaking me and calling, "Len, Len, it's all right, you're okay. It's just a dream." This is a dream from my 20s, but still vivid in my memory. My Aunt Emma had been in the hospital for a month. It was winter, near Christmas. Her younger sister, my mother, had died about a year before, just before Thanksgiving. Aunt Emma was a second mother to me and my siblings. We had just been told by her doctor that she had terminal cancer and would probably not leave the hospital. My dream, I believe, was my unconscious mind dealing with the death in a dream, so that my conscious mind would be better able to deal with the death in reality. Likewise, with the staple of Halloween, scary stories. I'm not a big fan of horror movies, but I love Stephen King. I've read most of his novels. The night I finished his novel, Pet Sematary, at about 3 a.m., I brought the nightlight from the bathroom into the bedroom. Helen woke up and asked me to turn it off. I refused. I was too scared. King said that Pet Sematary even scared him. Stephen King, in the preface to his book of short stories, Night Shift, says this: "All fear tends towards a comprehension of the final ending." Or more simply, all fear, all scary stories are about death. It's about the ultimate, what happens next? One thing about scary stories is that the scariest part is what you don't know. The scariest part is the buildup to knowing. I used to tell a ghost story at the camp I worked at during grad school. The story lasted about 20 minutes and it was almost all buildup. The story was about a fraternity initiation gone wrong. First, the brothers kidnap all the pledges and put pillowcases over their heads and drive them into the woods. After a long drive, the cars finally stop and the pledges are led one by one into a seemingly empty house. We heard the brothers driving off into the woods. In the dead of the night, we all fall asleep out of exhaustion. The narrator wakes to find no one else in the house. He runs to the door and is about to leave when he hears a sound from somewhere upstairs in the house. Well, you get the idea. 20 minutes of building anticipation. Once we see the monster, he or she can't be as scary as our imagination. But death always remains in our imagination. No one knows what happens when we die. What happens next? Hamlet ponders to be or not to be. And he then goes on to say, to die, to sleep, perchance to dream. Aye, there's the rub. For in that sleep of death, what dreams may come when we have shuffled off this mortal coil. Halloween is the night to ponder what dreams may come. If we didn't confront death at Halloween in scary stories and movies, I think we'd all go stark raving mad. Confronting death in fiction helps us cope with death in reality. I'm glad that we confront death at our church. Don Campbell has talked to us about his experience as a hospice chaplain. Forrest Gilmore just a few weeks ago presented a different way of seeing ourselves as part of the cosmos. Maybe when we die, we are no longer the wave, but the ocean. Maybe we are always the ocean. Dr. Larry Adams spoke of the same idea last week, but from a scientific perspective. Here, as you use, we can look at different answers to what happens next. Maybe some other traditions are right, that if we just have faith, we have everlasting life. That's a difficult leap for me. But if I live forever because I return again to the interdependent web of life, that rings more true. I still don't really know, but talking about it, thinking about it helps. And why does it help? Because once we name the monster, we can confront it. We can't deal with it if we don't know what it is. All those stupid teenagers who go into the house when they know the knife-wielding maniac is there waiting for them are crazy. But metaphorically, they're right. Should I go into the house and confront the monster? Yes. Should I get the test and find out if I have cancer? Yes, because only then can you deal with it, even if it means confronting your own death. When I was first diagnosed with kidney cancer, my wife wanted to get a second opinion. I didn't want to. I didn't want to admit I had cancer. She wanted to go to the Simon Cancer Center in downtown Indy for a second opinion. I didn't want to go into a building with cancer written large for all to see on its side. But she insisted and we went. We found out that yes, I had cancer, but the tumors were so small that I could get a different procedure that meant I wouldn't lose my kidney. The monster was not as scary as I thought. Now, I'm part of a cancer support group at the Simon Cancer Center. We meet on the first Monday of each month, tomorrow, as a matter of fact, on All Souls Day. For over the 5 years I've been part of the group, our greatest strength is helping those who come for the first time, who have just been diagnosed with cancer, to confront what happens next. The new member is usually embarrassed or ashamed to tell how bad and scared they feel. They often, as they tell their story, break down and cry uncontrollably. But we are good listeners and let them talk, sometimes for most of the meeting. And then, as we go around the table and introduce ourselves and tell our stories, the chemotherapy we've had, the stress on our families, how we reacted to our diagnosis like they did, the newly diagnosed members see others as themselves. See others like themselves. And we're all still here after 3, 5, 10, 15 years. The new member's courage in coming to the group is rewarded by seeing others that have confronted their monster and lived to tell the tale. It's still scary as hell, but less scary because they have some idea of what might happen next. The lady who was not afraid of anything in the children's story today was, of course, afraid, but she confronted her fear. Everyone in the Harry Potter novels refers to the evil wizard as he who would not be named. Harry Potter calls him by his name, Voldemort. On Halloween, we deal with skeletons and decorate our yards with gravestones. We see you, death. We know you're coming. You can't sneak up on us. We hang ghosts from trees and wear horrific masks. We confront all those fears we hold back all year long and put them in our home and businesses for all to see. It's healthy and therapeutic. All her life, Aunt Emma had been a positive person. She was a staunch New Englander, so she had that New England reserve, but I never saw her mean-spirited, crabby, or complaining. Halfway through her hospital stay, she changed and became miserable to be with. We had been told she was dying, but her brother, of the old school to not talk of Voldemort, wouldn't tell his sister Emma the truth. Neither did the doctors. One visit, near her death, she asked Helen and me if she were dying. We told her the doctor's prognosis. She asked about her illness. We told her what we knew as best we could. That night, we left fearful that we had done the wrong thing. The next evening when we visited Aunt Emma, she was back to her old self. We talked as we had in the past. She had confronted her death, named it, and made peace with it. She was ready to die. Perhaps the answer to the question, what happens next, is we don't know. And perhaps knowing that is the answer. So thanks to the Celts and their traditions, thanks to all the revelers today who make Halloween the second favorite holiday of the year, and thanks to the spirit of Halloween itself for helping us confront our fears and face our finite nature. Amen. Shalom. Blessed be.